Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Jye Currie. In today's episode, we're going to be talking a lot about business, money, motivation, and success. I'm joined here today with Jacques. Jacques is, I guess you'd call him an entrepreneur. He built his company to a staff base of over 400 and exited that company for $180 million. I've got a lot of questions. Let's jump in.
Okay.
Everyone's heard the saying, money doesn't buy happiness. Are you happy, mate?
That's a funny one because I remember thinking that when I made money, I'll be happier. And in so many ways, your life becomes easier, which makes you happier. So I'm going to have to sit on the fence with that one. I don't know.
Do you think if you're a happy person to start with, it's just going to amplify it? If you're stressed, it's going to amplify it?
It takes away so much of your stress so that you can almost find that happiness. So for me, like a prime example, like during work, I was drinking, I was unhealthy. Making money allowed me to take time away from work and I could focus on my health, and that made me happy. And if you don't have that money, you can't take the time away from work, you can't travel with your family. So that, I think, does kind of buy happiness. Yeah.
And when you're growing the business and working, how much are you trying to read books? Were you trying to think about that growth mindset? Were you always thinking about exiting the business?
No, not at all. No, like you're just kind of winging it, to be honest. You're winging it all the way to the end, to be completely honest. It's you learn more by doing than reading, in my opinion. So I'd say, you're not thinking, I'm going to start this business to exit for millions of dollars ever, really, until the end. Yeah.
And at what point did you feel like you got to that? Like, were you just trying to make a living?
The business started out incredibly boring. Like we were just installing signboards and printing brochures. So like, if you could think about the most unsexy, boring business in the world, that's what we did. And it's just through iteration and trying different things that we kind of landed at a tech business. And then from there, one thing leads to another and you end up with a big company.
Yeah. So we'll get into it. So you're doing signage for real estate. Mm-hmm. And what made you even get into that to start with?
Super random. Like my parents were in a photography franchise. Mm-hmm. So doing photography for houses. And we were like, we'll do the signboard franchise. So it's like a one-stop shop. You can get photos done and a signboard out the front. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where it started. It was really, really boring, really, really basic stuff. Yeah.
And then you integrated with another company.
Yes.
And were you still doing the same stuff, or did your company expand into doing more in this kind of field?
Well, what we ended up doing was the problem we started to solve was the ordering process for a real estate agent. You've got a photographer over here, you've got floor plans over here, you've got signboards, you've got all these different suppliers. And it can be quite chaotic because you've got to, get your photos, then you load them up here, then you type in your property details. It's a lot of double handling of data. Mm-hmm. So what we actually built was a platform that just streamlined all of that. So in one platform, you could order from all your suppliers. And our big competitor had a similar platform. So we ran our businesses, we grew our platform. We were very, very efficient at what we were doing. So we could be very cheap. We could grow really quickly. And that's what we were doing, is like undercutting our competitor. And in about 2020, they were like, well, we should do a merger.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so you weren't going out and doing the signage, printing and doing that. You had the actual website or the platform where then people could hire a photographer. Was it more that way?
So essentially the way to think about it is we started off with the supply side. We were doing the signboards ourselves. I was driving out myself and putting them in the ground. So that's how we started.
Yeah, right.
But the problem that we were facing was it was really hard for agencies to order from us. Like we were like, hey, we want to work with you. And they're like, okay, like I'll take 100 brochures, please, over the phone. Like it was just like not a system. There wasn't a smooth system to order from us to put the signs up. So we built that system. And quickly what we realized is this system that we've built to order and stuff can integrate multiple suppliers. And then it was like, well, we don't have to be the printers anymore. We can put a bunch of printers in here all across Australia. But we had a print business all the way basically until we exited because it was a profitable business. We just didn't put our energy into it. We put our energy into the system.
So, and you went from, so when you were growing the company, you got to 30, 40 staff when you merged, and then it went to what, 400?
Yeah.
So when you've done the merge, I want to know. A lot of people I talk to have this idea of. We were just screening the promise. Okay, we were out in central New South Wales, and all these mental health. So the promise is a suicide prevention documentary.
Yeah.
And all these mental health support networks were coming out, but it was very much like they're all against each other.
Yeah.
They all want a slice of the pie. I'm like, why don't we just make the pie bigger and everyone has some?
Yes.
Was there that hesitation to join another company and...
Yeah, because you're enemies. You're like, if you rewind before the merger, 3 months prior, we hated each other. And now all of a sudden you've got to be one big happy family. So the hardest part of a merger, it's the cultural change. All of a sudden you're like, we're friends now. Like, forget what we said before. We're all friends now. And that takes a lot of work. But I think we were really, really fortunate is it happened during COVID. So it was a really good opportunity for something like that to take place because people were kind of a bit scattered. People were used to working in this kind of, it was this new normal, which is like this COVID, we've got this lockdown stuff. So in that process, we were able to, create that togetherness because it wasn't like people were like, I guess, what's the good word for it? Like people were open to that kind of new connection in that moment in COVID. And I think that was the catalyst for us it was this pandemic going on.
People were searching for that.
They were searching for that. Like we're now on the same team. We've got a big goal. It was almost like a re-energizing for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much, I don't know what you're like as a person, so I'm going to just keep digging. But were there times you had to put your ego aside in these conversations and when you merged?
I mean, I don't think I have a big ego to put aside, which is the key thing. I think when you're building a business, one of the best things and the best lessons I've learned is it's better to have a small piece of a massive pie, like you said, than 100% of nothing. So it's all about collaboration. So the best thing you can do in a business is recognize when someone is better than you and learn as much from them and kind of get out of their way. Don't try and hold people back and be like, no, that's my job. That's my responsibility. You've got to kind of just be like, it's all the same. We're a team. So it's funny though, because some people have reacted like, well, what are these kids coming in here taking over this business?
Like the staff from the other company.
Yeah, but that's always going to happen as well. So you're going to have people that are annoyed.
And how do you navigate them?
Lots of uncomfortable conversations. You've got to grow there as a person. Like, one of the things I hate doing is firing people. It's like I can't do it, but you just have to learn to have honest conversations and say, like, look, we've got double ups of roles. There's a lot of clash here. Offer good severance, but just be really open and honest about the situation. Because obviously you get two companies coming together. There's going to be a lot of clashes in all different departments, and you've just got to say, well, the best person in that role is going to win.
And then sometimes it could have been the other people. So you've had your
Of course, yeah. But I mean, what we'd done, which is really good at the time, is we'd run our business incredibly lean. So even though we were tiny, we were more profitable per person. So if you basically take our framework, which is lean business, hyper profitable, and apply it to a bigger organization, all of a sudden that big organization can be super profitable because it's got the top line revenue number, right? What we did after we merged, we were actually smaller than they were pre-merger.
Really?
That's how much efficiencies we could apply to the joint business. So they were bigger pretty much coming into the merger than what the joint entity was leaving the merger.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
When you said you don't like firing people and having them difficult conversations,
yeah.
How much are you pushing your, what would you say, like, it's forcing you to grow as a person.
Yeah.
You've got to push what your norms are and what your emotions are to do that. Like, do you think like your success is equal to how far you can push beyond them things?
Definitely, because we all have like our, a happy place where we can perform optimally, but it's almost too comfortable. Mm-hmm. And that real growth comes from going into doing things that are like wildly uncomfortable for you. You don't have to do something that you're just like, I hate this every single day. But to be a good leader, you've got to have good conversations with people, and you've also got to have a shitload of bad conversations with people. And it's how you perform in those bad conversations. That's where you've got to learn to grow. And like, you've got to be like open and honest, and people will be annoyed and emotional and come firing back at you. And you just got to be level headed and be like, I'm going to communicate clearly at the start. I'm going to learn from people saying, well, you never told me that. And I say, okay, well, the next time I'm going to be even more direct in the beginning. And so eventually you start to get better and better at that, because there's nothing worse than people saying, well, you never communicated that to me, and now I feel let down. But if you're coming into a job and someone's like, look, this job's going to be incredibly hard, you probably don't even want to work here, we're going to push you to your limits, all that's now communicated. So when it is like that, people are like, well, I was told that in the beginning. So now when I hire people, I'm almost like anti-selling them a job. I'm saying like, it's all roses and sunshine in the beginning, but I'm telling you this is going to get tough. And you, as long as you're open and honest, I find people can handle a lot, and that's where you as a leader have to grow.
Did you always have this communication skill?
No.
No?
No. I started my business, like my career, I guess, when I was like 19. I started doing floor plans in real estate, and you just pick it up as you go. I was terrible communicator. I had no patience for anyone. If I told you something once, I expected you to remember it forever. And if you forgot it, I'd get annoyed. And so you have to learn that you work with other people. You learn how other people react. Essentially, a business is just a collection of people. There's no real business. It's just people. And you've got to understand what like motivates people, what gets people annoyed. You have to understand how to sort of navigate that. And so you become just better with practice and time. And now I think like it's a skill to understand and, read what people need. Because I'm like, well, don't you just want more money? But some people don't want that.
Yeah.
They want flexibility. They want to have time with their family. I'm just like, well, money is a motivator. But it's not. And so you have to figure that out.
Having companies with 400 people, I couldn't even imagine what that'd be like. How much have you seen like people are there for the culture, and people like just want to be a part of a tribe, and like they aren't driven by money, they just want to feel like a belonging?
That's the biggest eye opener for me. Is you can have, and this happened in COVID. This was the biggest thing that I learned during COVID. We had people that loved their job. They were so motivated, and as soon as you took them away from the tribe and put them at home, they just wilted. They hated it. All of a sudden, this was the worst job they've ever done. I'm like, the work is the same. It's probably easier. There's less work. The world's on lockdown. But because we've been removed from the people around them, they're hating it. And I'm like, that's like the most important thing in life. Like you got to work, like you got to work, 40 hours a week until you basically die. Yeah. You're spending time with a certain set of people. If you're not enjoying being around those people, you're not going to enjoy your work. It doesn't really matter. And so it's so important in business to create a culture where it is high performance. Like we're all here, we're like a professional sports team. We're trying to achieve amazing things, but it's like a collaborative. There's fun. There's trying at the core is to have enjoyment in your day to day. That's it.
The comment around we're all going to work 40 hours a week until we die. What's your big motivation with all this? Like just you as a person reflecting on like your purpose or your mission. Like what are you personally trying to achieve, or what's driving you?
That's a good question. I don't want to work, but I think for me it's what is your definition of work? I find building businesses incredibly fun. It's a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's not work. I don't want to sit there and copy paste things into a spreadsheet all day. That's terrible. That sounds like the worst thing in the world. But when it comes to building a company and hiring people, and now I'm trying to raise capital, and there's all these different elements, and it's all spinning at once, and it's chaotic. It's almost like a game to me, and I find that game really enjoyable. So I can do that game forever. I think purpose-wise, I never really had a connection to a purpose before. Until I had kids, and just something clicked for me. And I was like, this is now who I am. Like, this is what I'm doing this for. Like, I'm doing this for my family. And the motivation and the whole way my brain was framed now around work, it was just like everything made sense. And so I was like, that's my purpose. Like, I'm a provider. and I want to be a provider to my family. And now, like, I've got a little girl. I'm just like, I just want to give you everything. Like, that's my purpose. And same with my wife. Like, I want to give her the life that she deserves. And that's kind of my purpose. And I can do that through building businesses, and that's how I do it.
How has life, like the outlook of life, changed for you since having kids?
Massively. I think people say this all the time. When you're living just for yourself, things can be quite shallow. There's no real consequences to my actions. You know what I mean? Now that I've got kids, it's like everything I do, I have to do with the mindset of like, oh, I've got to wake up and raise my kids the next day. I can't go out and drink. You know, I can't. My time is finite, so I can't waste it because, you know, I'll go to work, I'll come home. That's now family time. I can't just sit there and doom scroll on my phone. So everything, like, it's ruthless prioritization. What? I just said the word wrong. Prioritization around your children. So you're almost like a B character now, and they're the main characters. And you've just got to do everything. Like, my whole life's purpose is to give them the best quality life possible. So every decision goes through that kind of framework.
It makes you a better person?
Oh, fuck, I don't know if it makes you. I don't know if it makes me a better person. I'm still a terrible person. But no, I think, I don't know. It's hard to describe. Like, people with kids, you always hear them blabbering on, and you're just like, shut up. But like, there's so many magic moments when you have kids where you're just looking at them. You're like, you didn't exist. You didn't exist 5 years ago, and now you're running around. It's like, it just makes, I guess it's like, it makes you realize the meaning of life in a way. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Before I get too choked up.
I want to talk about your next big venture.
Yeah.
But just, I think, bleeding that into with kids, you've exited your company, you're putting all this effort, money, capital now into this next big venture. Do you think about how much time you're putting into that, how much time with kids, and your time here? You said earlier, time's finite. Do you think about that a lot?
All the time. It's like the biggest thing I wrestle with.
Yeah.
Because previous business, I was just building up a huge debt with time with my wife, time with my kids, because I was just focused on this business. And I kind of blew a gasket, and I was like, I got to take time off. And I just sold the company, took a year off, and I just went all in on kids and family. Now I'm kind of starting back into that business journey, and I know what those business journeys can look like. It can take 5-10 years of intense effort. And I think about it all the time. I'm like, am I trading off the best years of my life with my kids to do something that I don't even really need to do?
It's a heavy thought.
Yeah.
That's a heavy fucking thought, bro.
It's like, I don't need to do this.
Yeah.
So now, but instead of saying, "Oh, I don't need to do this," it's like, "Well, I can do this in my own terms now." Before I couldn't. Before it was like almost like I just had to do what I need to do to survive. Now I'm like, I can write the rules a bit more. I have more control on the way that I'm going to run this business. Non-negotiable for me is I have to exercise. I cannot get to a point like I did before where I let my exercise, my health slip. I was drinking. I was unhealthy. My mental health was declining. I can't let that happen again. So I know that. So that's like non-negotiable. Time with my family is non-negotiable. So going into it, kind of having this massive experience of 10 years in the past and going, okay, well, how can I build the next business to be almost like the perfect life for myself? It's just a constant conscious thought. Okay, am I using my time correctly? Can I, now that I have resources, can I pay someone to do that instead of me doing it? I get an hour of my time back that I can then spend with my kids. And so it's on my mind all the time though. Like the other day I get home at 3:30 in the afternoon, so I don't want to, I'm pretty good with my time. But I got home at 6 and I was like, this is bullshit. I missed out picking the kids up from school. I missed out on an afternoon moment and I was like annoyed. Because I was like, I shouldn't, I've earned the right now to see my family. Yeah. And I have to constantly align myself back to that and never let work take that away from me. Yeah.
You can sail off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And just like not go through all this again. Has it been a big decision to start this whole venture? Like you said, it's a 10-year, could be a 10-year process.
Yeah, it's for me it is a big decision. I think like I've co-founded the business with my brother Frank, and for him, I think business is like it gives him absolute life. So he took about a week off between like exit, resigning at Domain and starting a new company. Same with my eldest brother.
Yeah.
So it's us three that co-founded the business originally, and they're just sickos. They're like, let's just go again. They just love it, and I'm like, I could be on a beach right now.
Yeah.
So it is a big decision. I think for me, like thinking about my life long term, like I want to set up an environment where it doesn't feel like I'm working. It's almost like I'm in a state of play, and I'm integrating things into my life where my kids can be a part of this. I noticed this when I was retired is my kids don't have a role model for what hard work looks like, because I worked hard, I had kids towards the end, and I sold, and now I'm sitting around at home sort of basking in the fruits of my hard labor, but they don't actually have any reference of that time.
Wow.
So they've never seen what it's like to work hard. They've never flown not business class. I need to show them what it's like to like exercise. I need to show them what it's like to work hard, to try like earn money. They just think money grows on trees. So for me, a lot of it's like, well, this is now, it goes beyond me. Mm-hmm. Can I build a business that my kids can inherit? You know, can I build something a bit bigger? And I think also like, can I continue to like level up as a person? I think the most growth for me happens through building businesses. I think that's when I'm at my most alive, and because you're forced to grow and mature as a person. And I didn't want to kind of get to a level and be like, cool, I'm stopping here like an athlete that retires and it's just a slow decline. I want to level up and see what else I can, achieve and who else I can become. Like even doing stuff like this, it's like, I wouldn't do this 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you love about it? About building businesses?
I just think it's like this incredible intellectual challenge, and you are set up to fail from the beginning. Mm-hmm. You have to go. First of all, you have to have incredible mental fortitude to try to do something, almost delusion. Like I'm going to try do a business. You tell it to your friends, like, oh, is that you're putting up signboards? Like that no one backs you really. And so there's that element where it's just like incredibly mentally challenging. But then it's also like you're putting together these pieces of a puzzle. Like I said earlier, like you've got to get these people to, as employees, and you've got to figure out what motivates them. So you've got to like spin this plate over here. Then over on this side, you're figuring out a marketing to get customers attracted to your business. And you're spinning this plate over here. And it's just this huge tapestry of problems. And I love playing chess. So I love like little
problem
challenge and problem solving. And it's just that constantly. And it's just constantly, and then you have a little win and you feel good, and then it's like straight back down, and it's just this crazy ride, and it's weirdly addictive. Yeah.
I've said this already, but before we get to the next big venture, when you were exiting, what were the conversations like around selling it? Because did Domain buy it?
Yeah.
What was it like being in them rooms and negotiating, or like how did all that come? Like where did they get the number from?
Yeah, it's a funny process actually. We did the merger. We decided, okay, we want to sell this company. The timing's right.
And did the people you merged with sell too?
Yeah.
Everyone just left?
Yeah, it's a combination. So essentially what happens with the merger is you have two entities that become one.
Yeah.
And then that one entity we sold. The process of selling was very, very interesting because we tried initially, let's just put some feelers out and see if we can get some bites. We're going to sell this company. Terrible. Got a terrible result. No one was interested. The numbers were whack. And then by chance, a broker reached out to my brother Frank, who was the CEO at the time, via LinkedIn and just said, hey, I'm a broker. They sell businesses for a living. That's all they do. Can we have a meeting? And we were like, we've tried to sell the business. And he was like, you're not framing it right. You're not pitching the correct strategy. And so we worked with them. And essentially the big lesson there is like, you're creating a sale process where you're getting multiple people involved, and it's almost like a bidding war. If I just say I want to sell my company to you, you just name the price and that's it. But if you're in a room like an auction room and there's 10 people bidding, all of a sudden there's a bit of competitive tension. And so he took us through this whole process of no, even if you don't want to sell to them, even if you have no interest of selling to that party, bring them along to this competitive process, create a framework for these are the days you have to get your best offer in, and that's how you end up at that number. It's just this huge, like, it's amazing the skill in selling a business. It's an incredible process. It took a year.
Yeah, wow.
It was grueling.
The old LinkedIn DMs.
Yeah, there you go.
That you're always ignoring.
Yeah,
Well, I am.
$1 million LinkedIn DM in the end for him.
Yeah, wow.
So that's good.
Incredible. So how much can you share with your new venture?
I can share anything.
Tell us about it. You're doing stuff with AI? You're starting an app? This is what I'm kind of putting together with this social media.
From social media. So essentially, the way we've come about this business, I'll sort of talk to the problems. We are founders, like I'm a business person. I have now growing a quite large network of other founders. We're doing things like the Founders Table. We're connecting with these people. That's amazing. What we're missing and why we've kind of come to this idea is like, I need a personal assistant to manage all these relationships with really, really important people. Like I've got, contacts there with guys that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars doing amazing things in business. My inbox is absolutely cooked. Like I cannot keep up with the amount of emails, messages, WhatsApps, all these different platforms that I'm messaging people on 24/7. I need a way to automate a lot of this stuff. And in our last business, we had the luxury of having personal assistant, but when you're in a startup or in this kind of early stage, you don't have the money for that. So we're building essentially like an AI assistant for business people. So you can think about like managing your contacts. You've got a bunch of important people, adding notes, meeting notes, things like that against them. You've got emails coming in left, right, and center, drafting up responses and categorizing them. You've got calendar appointments, like understanding the context of the contact. So if someone's wanting to meet with me and they're a billionaire and my calendar's completely full, well, clear my calendar. If you understand the context of that person, clear my calendar. Like an EA would know that, but like an email program or a calendar program doesn't know that this person is incredibly important to me. Even if it's just a DM that came through Instagram, this person's incredibly important. And if the AI understands the context of that person to you, it can make much better decisions. So that's kind of the core principle that we're going with.
And you're tailoring this for people that are just starting companies, essentially.
Not just starting. So we're actually going higher. We're going high end. So we're going for people that either have an executive assistant already, and we're just augmenting them, making them better with intelligence because they've got to manage a bunch of different things. Or we're going to people that are in that kind of solid founder executive kind of role. And they are drowning in this kind of cognitive overload of all these different channels, and they need that like AI superpowered, because AI is just getting to the point now, I think, where you're going to just talk to it as a voice chat, and it'll just solve your problem. You don't have to have an app really. You can just say like, I'm driving in the car. What are the emails I need to deal with right now? What is most important? And the AI understands what's most important. Based on your contacts, based on all the context that's collected on you, it can then make better decisions. And you can just drive in your car and it just rattle off 3 or 4 emails and you can just do them while you're on the go.
Wow. Is there any ethical boundary with, let's say, for me as a filmmaker, if I was to say, I'm going to use AI to create a whole story and then it wins an Oscar, and they're like, oh, Jye, you done this. And I know in the back of my head, AI done it. I didn't do it, and I'm up here getting praise for it. Or, I'm building a business and the skill set like you had to build your last company, that was you. Now, if someone else done the same thing and they had AI just doing it for them, is there like an ethical thing there at all, anywhere?
I think so for business, there's so many use cases that it's just speeding everything up, right? So like, back in the day, I had to write back to every email. Was that the best use of my time? Probably not. But I sat there writing back to every email. I wrote back to every support ticket in the beginning. Is that the best use of my time? No. If AI can plug in there and solve that problem for me, I'm paying for it. I'm still building the business, but I'm just focusing on other things. I think where it gets really, really fuzzy, and I think to your point, it's the creative stuff, right? It's where you've got films and illustrations and music and all these creative spaces where the AI is basically taking a composite of all these illustrations and creating an AI illustration, but it hasn't thought of it. it's just created it based on what it was trained on and created a picture. And it's been trained on art from real people that are now getting replaced by the AI. So it's like, that's where I think it becomes a little bit fuzzy. I still think you can produce great AI augmented products, experiences, businesses. You can still do that, but what does it look like in the future where it's fully AI? And what are we even doing here? Like, what's our input?
Well, yeah, like, do you think that's going to take over and it's like people are going to become irrelevant? Like, eventually, like, your business will be run by an AI and you won't need half your employees. Then what are they all doing? Like, what will the world look like in 1,000 years?
It's just such a good question. We have this conversation every single day. I think for now, it's so hard to project these thoughts into the future, because if you listen to one side of the argument, where AGI is coming and we're all going to be redundant. Then on the other side, it's like, well, the AI is useless. Look at this terrible thing. It's hallucinated here and created this terrible piece of code or whatever it is. I think that's probably somewhere in the middle, but it'll be, my opinion is it'll be like the internet. Like if you were describing the internet to someone in the 80s, they'd be like, well, how would I need that? I got a fax machine. Like, that's dumb. Now you can't live your life more than 5 minutes without an internet connection. I think AI is going to augment and enrich a lot of the human experience. I think it's going to completely disrupt a lot of jobs that we have now, but then new jobs hopefully will be created out of it. Like you see people nowadays, there's this huge business coming through, which is like implementing AI into companies. You know, like you're helping implement that. There's a lot of interesting things that'll happen, but it's so hard to guess. It's like almost impossible to guess, because we could be so like AI is happening and then just nothing comes of this as well. But I think it's like anything, like technology. It just creates like a new normal. Like, you know, my kids are already interfacing with ChatGPT. My son's 7. You know, they're asking questions and it's like talking to Siri. They're just used to that.
You've seen the Neuralink, like what Elon's doing.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with my mate about this like 3 days ago, and we were talking about, in life there's these topics or genres or whatever you want to call them, and there's pinnacles of knowledge and information in them. So like, just take like a mechanic. Yeah. There's like someone invented the engine and like there's this pinnacle.
Yeah.
And it's such niche knowledge. And then it might be art and someone can just understand the brush strokes and there's all these little like pinnacles. With a Neuralink, tapping into AI, you could then just be the pinnacle across every single one.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to get to a point where like AI is going to be integrated into humans through that, or will we tap into it? Like, will they download consciousness and put them into these robots? Like, are you thinking about them thoughts?
Oh man, I love this existential stuff. It's like, you should come sit in our office. We have these existential crisis conversations every day, because something new will happen. We're like, oh gosh, what does this mean for people? Like, I was writing code the other day with AI, and I was like, I've done nothing here. It's done everything. I've just asked it some basic questions, and it's gone. And I've kind of added some guardrails, but I have not been here. It has done everything. The gap though of actually bringing that into your like body, I think our generation and maybe a couple generations after us will be like, that just feels random. Like I would never do that, because where do I end and then this new version of myself begin? And I don't want to lose myself in this weird techno world. But maybe a couple generations down the track, you've got people literally integrating themselves with like all the knowledge in the universe through a Neuralink. Maybe, I don't know. I think the robot thing is a definite, like that'll happen in our lifetime, where I would not be surprised if every household had a robot for some form of like, you know, labor. You know, a cleaner, cooks food, cleans your garden, does all these kind of manual tasks. That I can 100% see, and I think people will probably go out and buy that with smiles on their faces. I think when it gets really, really grey is when you've got like, a chip in your brain that all of a sudden like you can download the entire human
everything
knowledge. Yeah.
It makes me think about like what that must feel like to when that comes to one.
Yeah.
Well, AI to human, and then what you go into.
Yeah.
Is that how like life now become about like that whole simulation theory?
Well,
or?
I mean, like we do it just in small stages. The thing with technology, it's like I can't go anywhere without my phone. That is the same as a chip. I have the entire human knowledge base on my phone. It's just I've got to search for it. It's just got a bit of a lag. But put that in my brain, I'm halfway there. You know, I can't leave the house without my phone. I don't know about you, but like we're all sitting there like this all day, every day.
Yeah.
Next minute's the glasses. Eventually, maybe we become a weird hybrid thing. I don't know. I don't know.
Are you religious?
I grew up really religious. My family is super religious. I think I would say I am religious in a lot of ways.
You pray?
From time to time, yeah. I think that's kind of part of the human experience is like, you know, like we're always thinking, where do we come from? I think that curiosity is just part of what it's like to be human. And then just maybe adapting to all these weird new things that we keep inventing. Yeah.
I feel just with like what we're inventing, I feel like it's just speeding up so fast too. Like I was chatting to my mate the other day. I felt like from like when we were playing Snake on the Nokia 3315 to an iPhone felt like such a long period.
Yeah.
And now we've just
Every week there's something new.
it's blowing my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was at the Apple store the other day and chucked on them Vision.
Yeah.
Have you seen them? Have you played with them?
Yeah.
I thought I was pretty up to date with technology.
Yeah,
I walked
no.
out of there feeling like an 80-year-old man.
Yeah. Once the Meta glasses, they sort that out, I think they're going to have we'll have proper augmented reality in the next 5 years. I don't know if you've used Meta. It's just Ray-Bans. They haven't got much visual display, but it's you got the audio and the AI in it. Once
Really?
that has visuals, because I mean, I don't want to be walking around with the big bloody ski goggles on because we all look like idiots, but integrate it into your normal eyewear and everyone will
Contact lenses.
Exactly. And that's the next, it just keeps going smaller and smaller until it's, fully augmented, which is interesting because what that means is when you're building businesses or when you're doing things, it's like you should be building for that world potentially, right? Like, is there a world where a camera doesn't need to exist because it's always here? You can film with just pushing or saying something and then you're filming. So there's like a lot of interesting applications. If you start to think like, what does the future look like? Can I build hoping that we get there? If that's
You're trying to predict where that
we'll
will
land. Yeah, where we're going to land. Like, is a phone even a redundant thing? Like, it's this brick that I have to carry around to be connected to the internet and the wide world. It doesn't need to exist, right? What about if I was just wearing a contact lens or I was wearing glasses? I wouldn't need a phone anymore. And so with technology, it's like you're always kind of trying to guess where it might be so that you're not building for things like, I've got this amazing thing that's been built for phone and then no one uses phones again. And we all use these glasses. So I find that also really interesting.
With the new venture you're going into, I know you said with the last one you weren't thinking about an exit and stuff. Are you thinking about an exit? Are you trying to predict?
Yeah, so I think you got to go with what you've learned in your experience. I personally believe business life cycles are going to be shorter. So I don't know if you keep track with this stuff, but back in the day, you'd build you'd start a company and maybe you're manufacturing some little widget. You'd go and get a factory and it would expand, and it was extremely like almost linear growth. To get to $1 billion business, you need to sell a certain amount of widgets. So you need to have a factory, employees, a bigger factory, and it's like you've got to go through these stages to get to this big business. Nowadays, with technology, we're getting to $1 billion businesses in 6 months.
Really?
So the life cycle is ridiculous. Like you've got companies now getting to 200 million, 100 million recurring revenue yearly, which is a ridiculous number. But in 18 months, like they start a company and in 18 months, they're at 100 mil recurring revenue valued at billions of dollars because the graph of their growth is just like a straight line up. Well, thinking like that, if businesses can grow incredibly fast, I think the life cycle on the other way can also be very fast because another business now can come along extremely quickly and disrupt you completely. So yes, going into business now in the future, in the past I wasn't thinking about exiting. Now I'm like, well, what does business actually look like in the modern day? What does it look like life cycle wise? If you're raising capital, when do you need to get off the train? Because what does it look like when someone comes along that's twice as good, half the price? And that's happening, I think, at a rate I've never seen before. You know?
Do you ever have like a plan B? Like if we haven't got enough capital to go into this venture by this date, we're not doing it? Or you're just like, no, fuck it, we're pushing.
You make things up as you go. So you hope for the best, but business is constant readjusting. So I want to build this, but the customer wants this. I can keep building this, but no one wants it. I need to turn a little bit and meet the customer where they are. And you see examples of this all the time. Like my favorite example is, I don't know if you've used Slack.
No.
The messaging app is huge in like business, enterprise. They were a game developer. They were a game development business. They were trying to develop a game.
Wow.
And what happened out of that is they had an internal chat tool that the software developers would use to talk to each other because they were working abroad or asynchronously. They'd use this tool to talk to each other. That was Slack. The game development business went bust. No one wanted the game, but they had this one tool that they'd built, and then that becomes a business worth $50 billion. So
wow.
that just shows like they had something that they'd built in this pathway of being a game developer that they ended up being a messaging app. But if they were like, I just want to be a game developer, and the game developer goes bust, they would just shut the entire company down and move on with their lives because they're married to this idea of being a game development business. So I think in business, the most important thing is you think you want to go a certain direction, but your customers will tell you what's important, and you end up probably, if you look back in 5 years, in a completely different spot. And so you failed. The original idea has failed, but you've iterated so much, it's not a failure. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you like, and that's a lot of the time. One of the biggest skill sets you can have is never being married to an idea. Even if you're super passionate about it and it was your idea and you want this to work, when you get feedback and you realize that's not going to be the thing, you've got to just ditch it and turn and iterate and change and be open to feedback, because that'll keep you alive. Like companies, I mean, a lot of the times they'll try to sell something that no one wants and they'll just go busto. But I've seen the best companies. You look at some of the huge ones. Like I think Samsung started as like a fish market. Like they started as random. Lamborghini, same thing. They're like making tractors. Now they make supercars.
Wow.
So you've got these huge companies, but they started off and they just got started. And you can't even recognize where they started to where they are now. It's just because they kept doing different little iterations. And technically it's failure, but it's just framing the failure in a different way.
I want to talk about failure, but when you're going through that process and evaluating, are you doing it through looking at reports and like what numbers are performing? Are you sitting down having conversation with clients?
Yeah.
Are you actively evaluating it in specifically? Can you explain how you're doing that?
So in the early days, what you want to do is there's a bit of a life cycle, right? I've got an idea. And then I want to build something around that idea, and then I want to get that into a customer's hands. That little flow I want to do as quickly as possible, as tightly as possible. When I get it into a customer's hands, I'm talking physically, like I'm sitting with you. How did that go? In the beginning days of Realhub, I sat on the phone with the customers and walked them through every click. And they were like, "No, it's a bit clunky." And I'd be like, what do you mean by clunky? Like, well, actually, I'd like it if I could do this, this, and this. Well, you've just told me something. You've given me a piece of information. Now I test it against 5 customers. 3 out of 5 said the same thing. That's data. We should probably make that change. And that's what you're doing all the time. In the beginning, it's super reactive, because your idea is so fragile. When you're big, it's different, because now you've got to do like surveys, and it's very different because you've got customers and you've got momentum, and making changes is hard. So now you need really, really strong quality data. You don't just want to listen to one little complainy Joe. So it's very different depending on the stage of business you're in.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you look at them as, like, because you said like it's failure, but it's really success. It's another one closer to where we need to get.
Yeah.
How do you put yourself out and go through that whole process of failure?
Well, I think you just got the process of business is a very much like a scientific experiment. I've got a hypothesis. I think this will work. It's tech. I've got this feature that I think is going to work. And I've got a platform where I'm going to deliver the feature. Then I'm going to get data back to kind of confirm or deny my hypothesis. And you can set benchmarks, like what does success look like? If I launch this app and I get 100 downloads, that's success. Okay, then that gets me to the next gate. And then I say, well, now from this point onwards, I'm going to make these features into my app, and then what does success look like when I launch it? So you kind of just create, it's arbitrary too. You're sucking this out of your thumb. It's just, what would it look like if that was this, what do we think success looks like? If you do a documentary, what does it look like? What does success look like? Is it 1 million downloads? Probably that's too, that's too enthusiastic and you're setting yourself up for failure. But what does success look like? Oh, 50,000 people saw it. That's success. And then you build on that, right? So it's just like, set a goal, define what success looks like, get the right amount of feedback, and then go, okay, cool, we achieved it or we didn't. If we didn't achieve it, it goes directly in the bin, right? So if the experiment didn't work, it goes in the bin. And in a tech platform, the amount of experiments we ran that went in the bin, it would sicken you because you're constantly taking shots. You're having swings and they're failing, and you just take the code and you throw it in the bin.
So that whole idea of let's wait till it's perfect and then put it out there is not the case.
No way.
Take the opportunity, make it perfect.
100%. Like, what is perfection? I couldn't even define it, right? It's subjective. Perfection to me and perfection to you might be completely different things. I don't know what perfection is until I got it into the hands of my customer, and they'll tell me if it's perfect by paying me. So I can sit there and guess and shadow box ideas, and none of it matters until it's in the customer's hand. Then you'll know. And it'll be so far from perfect, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, I think people they attach too much of their
identity,
their identity to what they're giving, and then people will say like, it's if someone comes back with negative feedback, they shut down and they go, oh gosh, it's me who's failed. But negative feedback is the most useful fuel in a business. I don't listen to positive feedback. What is positive feedback? Great job. What am I going to do with that? I can't do anything with it. But if you've written out like a huge, concise, negative review, I can take so much from that. I can learn so much from that. And then I can get better. And then I can go back to you. Now I've turned you, who is a negative person, into a fan because you felt listened to. So like, we would focus so much of our energy on the kind of, they say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We'd focus on these squeaky wheels, because the squeaky wheels at the end of the day are also passionate. They use your product or your service. They use what you're putting out there, and they've got the time to be vocal about it. So taking negative feedback is the most important thing, and actually taking it and turning it into something, useful.
Yeah, that's really inspirational. Where do you get all this from? Like, were you always reading books?
No.
Have you had a mentor? Like,
I've probably read 5 books in my entire life, to be honest.
Really?
My brothers. So I've gotten extremely lucky in my life. I was extremely lucky with my parents. My parents are just the biggest grafters that you've ever met in your life. They moved us from South Africa to New Zealand, then New Zealand to Australia. Both times gave up everything to give us a better life. My brothers, 2 geniuses, but in completely different ways. So my eldest brother is like a software genius savant. My youngest brother is the people person of all people. Like, he is absolutely, he can make friends with a wet paper bag. He is that good with people. And so, being the middle child, I've kind of got really lucky, where on this side I've got like genius, code, practical knowledge, and on this side I've got like this flair for people, and I've kind of gotten those 2 worlds mixed into me. And then obviously the main one, I think, for me is my wife. I've just got I found the perfect person to do all this with, perfect soundboard, perfect coach. And so I've gotten lucky in a lot of areas, I'd say.
The way that you're appreciating all this and being aware of all this, do you think you've just been gifted that skill to analyze these scenarios and appreciate them? Or
I think about it a lot. I don't know. No, I don't know. It's
because there's people that are in great positions and they'll just tell you everything that's fucking wrong in their life. You know what I mean?
I think life fundamentally is incredible. I think we're lucky to be alive, and it's this amazing thing when you've got great people around you. I think that's where I can really draw this from. Like, when I am feeling depressed or down, I look to my youngest brother, and he's just this super positive person. I'm like, I want to be like him. And that creates this. And then I'm like, when I'm struggling with some like really complex problem, I look to my eldest brother and it's like, oh, I actually want to be like him. He's a genius. And then so that creates the temperament for me. It's like, I've got this amazing group of people around me that make me want to be better all the time. Like, you see someone, like, I ran a marathon, I felt real chuffed. And then one of my mates ran 330K ultra. I was like, damn it. Like, you surround yourself with people like that. And it just makes you want to be better in every single way. Definitely.
How much do you appreciate competition? Like someone runs a bit further, you're going to go out and try to do better now?
I love competition, but I don't try. I just want to be the best version of myself. So I'm not trying to like beat them and then say, I got ya. Yeah. I just want to do what's good for me. But I also want to have someone to look at that's so far ahead of me. So when I'm feeling smug and good about myself, I get a little bit of like, oh, okay, a bit of a reality check there is like, I'm nowhere near that. And so that just, you keep going because it's like, you don't want to be the big fish. So when I do run an ultra marathon, I've run 80Ks, I'm feeling all chuffed with myself. I look around, I go, there's the guy, he's crushing it. Look at Ned Brockman, he ran around a freaking track, like there's levels to this game. You're a very small fish.
In life, who are you looking at?
In who inspires me? I get a lot of inspiration from like athletes. Like what Ned Brockman did, I think is crazy.
Yeah.
That record just got broke the other day. I'm like, it's crazy. Like I'd love to be able to do something like that where you are in absolute hell, but you just got to keep showing up and doing this incredibly difficult thing by yourself. So stuff like that, there's so much transference there for business people about the mental side of life, like that you can go through a lot mentally. Like you can look at those people and like, wow, I haven't struggled yet. Like those guys are pushing the absolute limit. So I really look up to like athletes, like seeing Rory McIlroy the other day win the Masters. I was like, wow, that's inspirational.
I was so emotional watching that.
I know. But that's it.
That part, you're like, he's putting a ball in a hole, and then I'm like, why am I feeling these emotions?
Why am I choked up right now?
Yeah.
And it's because it's like this dude has had this goal and he's gone out every year to try and achieve it, and he's fallen short, and he just gets back up and goes again. And he's got all the fame, and he doesn't need to do it. He doesn't need to chase that goal. He's got fame, success, everything, but he just keeps doing it. And like that, just the whole world just rallies behind that kind of stuff. And I love seeing stuff like that because I'm like, damn it, like I probably wouldn't be able to do that. Like, and it just takes like this certain type of person. Kobe Bryant, same thing. Like wakes up 2 a.m, trains, goes home, rests, wakes up again at 6, trains. Like that level of mentality I think is like really inspirational. And you take that and you can just transfer it to pretty much anything in your life.
What do you think they're actually chasing?
I think what you're chasing is
the best version of yourself.
The best version of yourself. You are the only voice in your head at the end of the day, right? You're listening to yourself, and you know when you've let yourself down. Like I know when I've let myself down when I said I'm going to run a certain distance and I don't, but I've got excuses for myself. But deep down, I'm like, I didn't do what I set out to do. And I think those people just are like, I'm going to do this thing, and they declare it and they put it out there. I'm going to win this championship. And then they put them in motions to do it. And they never say like, oh no, it's too hard. They just keep doing it. I think that then it just creates this like positive enforcement for yourself. Like I said I was going to do the thing and I did the thing. Well, now I'm going to say I'm going to do this thing and then I do that thing. And it just, you're constantly improving. And it's like I think that's a good feeling to feel like you are improving as a person.
Very few people can say they've actually done their best.
Yeah.
And if you play on that thought, I do it. I've been on it a lot lately now. I'm like, oh yeah, I've done my best. And I walk away and go, did I actually do my best? Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah.
There's always room for more.
There's room.
There's always room for more.
There's room. And there's nothing better. I had this feeling the other day. I was like, fuck, I had a shit week. And I looked at my Strava stats and I'd run 50Ks for the week and I'd trained 6 times. I was like, that was a shit week. Because I'd improved my level. I've gotten better. But there's always room to be better. And like, if you gave me that 4 years ago, I'd be like, holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But there's something about like, I could do better. And I feel like that. I know that I can do better. And then there's nothing better than when you leave it all out there and you do your absolute best. You have one of those days where you're like, I was on from morning till night. Or you run a marathon, you're like, I gave it every single last drop of effort. And that's like a halo that stays with you for months, like that feeling of like, fuck, I gave it my absolute best. Yeah.
There's something primal about it. It's like your spirit's looking down on you and it's happy.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I don't know if it's like I think it's like maybe for men as well. Like we've got this drive in us, and we haven't got the outlet maybe from that we would have had back in the day, because we're all just sitting at our desks doing work. So there's this need to like really like exert yourself mentally or physically towards a goal. There's like this desire in us. And when you actually start setting goals and achieving them and feeling that, it does become like, you know, a big part of your identity. Like I do my best at things and I try hard at things. I am a try hard. Like I like trying my absolute best, and then also reflecting and being like, I'm not locked in right now, knowing that and trying to get as close to being locked in as possible. Yeah.
What does success look like for you?
Ooh, good question. I mean, to be honest, man, like people always skirt around this money thing. It's really funny. I think success, a lot of it has to do with I have the financial freedom to do whatever I want. So what I'm doing right now is a choice that I'm making 100%. That is complete success to me. So money is like the bedrock of that, because if you don't have money, you might have to do things that you might not want to do. And then I don't feel like I'm successful because I'm doing something begrudgingly. I'm doing something because I have to do it. That's not success. But if I'm like, I've got enough time, money, I've got resources that anything I'm doing is 100% my choice, I'm successful.
It's like to be in control of your own life.
100% in control. Like if I don't want to go to work for 6 weeks in a row, I don't have to. Like I don't have to. If I want to get on a plane and go on a holiday with my family, I can, and I'm not worried about the money. That's success to me. But I'm choosing to go to work because there's interesting challenges there. Yeah.
I love that. Mate, I really appreciate you coming up from Sydney to have this conversation. We'll wrap it there.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.